Hi, welcome to NASCAR America Splash and Go. I'm your host, Nate Ryan, today here at NASCAR Plaza with Steve O'Donnell, the NASCAR Chief Racing Development Officer, who announced the 2020 NASCAR schedule today. Steve, I want to start with the end of the schedule. Phoenix becomes the new season finale, will determine the champion, replacing Homestead Miami Speedway. Why does Phoenix make sense for NASCAR? Yeah,
I think a great sports town, first of all. A lot of investments gone into the track over the years, and it's been a terrific market for us. So we had looked for a while to be able to rotate the championship. Phoenix stood out as a venue that we wanted to go to, and with the increased investment and with Julie Giese and her team out there, it felt like a natural fit for us.
And does this mean there's been a lot of talk about possibly rotating the championship in the future? Is it a one-year thing? Is there a potential for other tracks to host the title after 2020?
Yeah, I think right now just 2020, but certainly something that we hope works, and we hope we can stay there for a little while. So I think for us, we want to see a championship maintain a certain venue for a couple weeks or a couple years, and then we'll see what happens.
The other thing that I've noticed, Steve, about the playoffs is you have 3 cut races that are all much different than in the past. You have the Roval, which made its debut last year, but then you have Bristol and Martinsville, 2 short tracks, as cut races. Why did it make sense to do it that way?
Yeah, important. Our fans have always talked about, we love short tracks, we love road courses. Anything you can do with them in the playoffs would be fantastic. So when we looked at that slate of races, it became available to us. Great cooperation from the tracks to be able to race under the lights in Bristol for that first cutoff. The Roval was terrific last year. And then you look at the swap with Texas and Martinsville. Being able to go to Martinsville for that last chance to get the finale is going to be terrific.
And as I mentioned, with Bristol, Martinsville, and Richmond now in the playoffs, it gives you 3 short tracks, 3 mile-and-a-half tracks. That's fewer than you've had in the past. Do you like that balance?
I do. I think it's a good rotation when you look at kind of how we end the regular season, super speedway, and then the mix of tracks we have in the playoffs, I think really challenges the driver throughout all 10 races.
And then Southern 500 at Darlington now opens the playoffs. What was the idea there?
Iconic racetrack for sure, always been on Labor Day weekend, so it happened to fall in where we were going to have that first race, but when we looked at it, we thought, what better place? The tradition of Darlington, drivers wanting to win there, and it's a great place to start the playoffs for us.
Okay, and then the playoff lineup will be determined by a new track as the regular season finale. That's Daytona International Speedway, moving from its traditional July 4th weekend to August. Why did Daytona make sense as the regular season finale?
Yeah, great question. I think the teams really had talked to us really over the last 2 years about Daytona or Super Speedway ending the regular season. That ability for that last chance to make the playoffs, if we could ever make that happen. We had a lot of discussion with Daytona. We were able to make that move, and then that opened up July 4th. That's a big weekend for us as well, and we needed an iconic track there. So Indy taking that spot felt like a great swap.
Does it feel as if that gives you a chance to have more underdog winners, or people kind of pop up and make the playoffs in the past?
I think it does. I think for those who are already in the playoffs, a little bit of a more settled feeling, but also, we've seen some new winners come out of Daytona, and it is that last chance to make the playoffs. So we feel like it's going to be a really great event for all the teams to come in and have that one last chance.
Also a change here in your summer races. You have Pocono now hosting back-to-back races, June 27th and 28th, a cup racing doubleheader. Why did that make sense for Pocono, and is that perhaps a blueprint for how you guys might do things in the future?
Yeah, that was one of those ideas that's been on the table, and as we talked to different tracks, Nick Igdalski said, hey, I'm interested in that, and we could really put something special together. It's a great camping crowd already. Pocono's had terrific crowds throughout their weekend, so we looked at the ability to have multiple races Saturday and Sunday. Our other national series is part of that too, and we think we can really blow it out, and it's going to be a fantastic weekend of racing.
And with Daytona moving to the regular season finale, Indianapolis now moves back into that July 4th weekend slot. What does that mean for the Brickyard?
Well, I think it's a fantastic weekend for NASCAR. When you look at July 4th and what it means to the sport and all the ties we have, not only the independents but the military, it's been a big weekend for us, and having Indy fill that spot, it's an iconic track, and we think that's a great mix.
All right, a couple more significant changes. I feel like I'm just
We've
going
got a
down
lot
about
of them
a
this year,
dozen
right?
here.
Yeah.
Martinsville, for its first race of the season, moves under the lights Saturday of Mother's Day weekend, and I know that's something that's probably been talked about since they had lights a couple
I
years
think
ago.
if you're a fan of short track racing and a fan of Martinsville, you should look at the schedule and say, and I can go Saturday night under the lights, and then I can go to the last race before the finale. You got to buy both those tickets and be at both those event weekends. It's terrific racing. Clay does a great job. He's had the late model race in the past under the lights that's been really successful, and we expect more of that.
And then the season now will open, instead of having Atlanta after the Daytona 500 and then going west, there'll be an immediate West Coast swing after the Daytona 500. Will that be any more difficult for teams to handle, or you feel like that's something they can accomplish?
I think they can manage. When you look at, the challenges, no secret, right? Weather in Atlanta has been a challenge. We've always looked at, can we get that a little later in the schedule? So by being able to move Vegas up to the second race, that's a big market for us, West Coast. It's a destination market, which is good coming after the Daytona 500. So felt like that was a win, being able to have Vegas second, and then allowing Atlanta to move back a little bit, and then having Miami follow that really felt like a good mix for that spring portion of the season.
Right. So Atlanta and Miami, 2.5-mile tracks, move back to back in March. With Miami moving back, Steve, I mean, I thought that as a championship finale, especially last year, it's delivered some really compelling action, some big moments in those races. Any chance that it could move back to the championship eventually? I mean, how do you guys feel about where Miami still plays?
Yeah, I would never say never. I agree with you. It's produced some great racing, and that's why we were comfortable moving it to another slot, because we do expect it to continue to produce great racing in the spring, which we need. So I think it's a good position for them. But yeah, I think as you look ahead for the schedule 2021 and beyond, we're going to look at where the championship lies, in those out years.
So 2021 and beyond, as we've gone through now, everything that you guys announced here for 2020, can you give us any hints of what 2021 might look like? It seems as if there could be more.
I think there could be more. I think it's important to note that the racetracks within their agreements really only had to move 2 weeks this year. So the ability that they showed us to be able to really make some bold moves this year was terrific. I think 2021, we obviously have some renewed sanctions, and we'll take a look at where we race and continue to make some bold moves that hopefully the fans will embrace.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on that, and you should keep an eye on NASCAR America. We'll have Motor Mouths tomorrow, 5 p.m. NBCSN. I'm sure Kyle Petty will have some opinions on the 2020
yes,
schedule.
Will.
Thank you for watching Splash and Go.
Hey NASCAR fans, thanks for checking out the NBC Sports YouTube channel. Make sure you hit subscribe below for the latest NASCAR news, race highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.